Good morning, Jerry.
Hey, guys. Good morning, and good to be on with you.
Do you know about this Dak dance, and are you capable of doing it yourself?
Certainly do. I've had both hips replaced, and that's kind of similar to some of the exercises that you are in your hip rehab and your hip flex, and so I'm aware of it. I'm not so sure I got the range of motion that either one of those guys have, but I can do it, and I really that Zeke, he's unbelievable. He's jumping in Salvation Army red kettles after a score, or he's working with Dak on his score. You can see how much fun Zeke is, and he's fun in the locker room before a game. He's a pleasure to have on the team.
Jerry, how much does it thrill you that all of us talking heads are now having a legitimate MVP discussion over Dak and the way he's playing?
Well, we are so rewarded by the fact that he's having the year he has, and it's very fitting because with the type of offensive team we got, they've challenged him to be everything and more that he can be, and he's risen to the occasion. And for a lot of reasons, it's a good thing to see him having the year he's having.
Dak gets the most credit, but should Kitna get the second most credit, Jerry? You guys rolled the dice on giving him a coaching position on this level. Is John Kitna kind of 1B in your mind for this leap he's taken?
You know, we're always into that type of thing, who gets credit, that type of thing. And John certainly has is doing a great job out there. But when things are going good, you've got to spread it around. Those receivers get a lot of credit for it, that protection. Now, I want to emphasize protection. Let me not go past John Kitna. Yes, he deserves a serious acknowledgement about what he's doing with Dak. But make no mistake about it, that protection that Dak is getting is extraordinary, and it has risen to the occasion. And, right now we're pointing our finger at what we're not getting done sometimes in the run game, which basically is a little bit of a criticism of your offensive line in the run game. On the other hand, look what we're doing in the protection. And make no mistake about it, simply they're putting the guys up front that make it more difficult for Zeke to run.
Jerry Jones right here on the Fan. So, Jerry, last thing on Dak, the obvious, question from observers and fans is he's playing like an MVP. You have his contract up. Why is the deal still not done? I know these are private matters, but just to give us any type of update, is it a length thing? Is it a numbers thing? Why wouldn't it make sense not to have this done by now?
Well, I don't have any comment on that. We've got to have enough left to pay Zeke. We've got to have enough left to pay that offensive line. We've got to have enough left to pay some of those key defensive players, and that's always been what it's been about, is how to allocate the dollars.
Jerry, has this team become a pass-first team?
No. I think that without a doubt, without question, one of the reasons that we're having the opportunity to throw the ball as much as we are is because the defense is giving up some of their ability to defend the pass by stopping the run. That's a fact. And so you can't have it all. And when you hedge your bets against the run, when you're on defense in the NFL or in football, then if you've got real competence back there, they'll tear you up in the passing game. Aikman, when they would load that box for Emmitt Smith and try to hit him before he got 5 yards sometimes before he was hit, when they would load it up there, well, Aikman would tear them up with Novacek and with Michael Irvin. Well, they wouldn't do that because that'd take about 6-7 plays to go down that field. And so they backed off, and Emmitt Smith be the first to tell you that had a lot to do with how well he and his stats relative to yardage gain.
Jerry, stacking the box against Zeke is nothing new. They've been doing it for 3.5 years for the most part against him, but he's never had a problem. But now the last couple of weeks, averaging under 3 yards a carry. Are you at all concerned about Zeke and his performance?
Well, you went through that pretty fast. Stacking the box is nothing new. They are not consistently stacking the box. And so to the degree, and everything is degree, the numbers of plays, what they're doing with some of the nuances of their run attack, that is more intense than it has been the last 3 or 4 games. That's more intense than it has been in the past.
Jerry Jones right here on 105.3 The Fan. We're still a little worried about the defense. We thought they'd be a top 5, unit. You're not giving up a ton of points, but when it comes to maybe getting off the field on third down, or you gave up 27 to a backup quarterback with the Lions, does it still feel like, Jerry, something is missing with the defense to catch them up to the offense right now?
We generally speaking, we didn't tackle well the other day. And we've had other times when we don't tackle as well. And we've got to get better at wrapping up. And, of course, that's how you can wrapping up is how Brown is on the sideline right now. That's how he had the injury that he had, was by wrapping up. And so John Madden said one of the reasons that you don't have wrap-ups is these guys try to save their arms in the tackling process. So bottom line is that we need to wrap it up more. We need to just tackle better.
Jerry, has it gotten to a point when you're 10 games in where you say, hey, maybe the defense isn't going to be what we thought, or you really believe that things are correctable there?
Well, what are we, 7th in the league on defense? I would sum it up by turnover. We need to have gotten more turnovers, and we would be more satisfied with our defense. And I'm not trying to be trite or specific, but the turnover thing is where I think we're lacking the most. If we could have played the same kind of defense and had some more turnovers during this period of time, I think we'd be less critical of the defense. But as you can tell, the way the NFL is today, and the emphasis that we have in our officiating and the emphasis we have in our rules, then you can have a pretty good defense and still get some success against you. So, again, I think wrapping up, I think sure tackling, continuing to strive to get turnovers, that's the answer. We're getting the effort. We're getting serious effort. And we're getting some outstanding play. The other day, we really had a great play from Quinn. We had great play from Bennett. Collier played real well. Well, I really thought Jalen Smith played well out there the other day. And so we had some guys do some good things.
Jerry, 2 new fan favorites are Tony Pollard and Blake Jarwin. So much so, you have some fans say, oh, they should play over, our Hall of Fame guys above them on the depth chart. How do you like to see them used? How do you guys determine their usage, Pollard and Jarwin from week to week?
Well, I think that now Pollard's no secret. I remember we got kidded a little bit over Zeke who because Pollard had such a good training camp.
Yeah.
And so Pollard is a great alternative, but more important, he's a great complementary player to what we do with Zeke. But I want to be real clear about something. Zeke is one of the best football players in the National Football League. And it makes no sense not to be trying to get the ball to Zeke or get the plays in and around Zeke. So what we do is do both. And let's use Pollard for some of the best he's got. And you see that he has such acceleration. And he has really good instincts as far as finding soft spots. So he showed us that in training camp. He really exhibited that when he was in college. He's got an opportunity, along with Zeke, to really help us totally, I'm going to just say, in the offense, because he can catch the ball coming out of the backfield. He can do some things that we do and a lot of people do with wideouts.
the Hall of Famer Jerry Jones on Sean and RJ every week at this time, brought to you by Ford. Do you have major injury concerns for the Patriots? We know Anthony Brown is out. We saw in about a 4-minute span Tank go down, Collins. We know Heath was out. Amari continues to play through stuff. Do you have any major injury concerns?
All of those guys you've just mentioned, we need to watch them this week a little bit, but should be available for us in a real effective way. So I feel good about those guys, especially Tank, especially Collins. But we'll watch how it works this week. But if they go as our trainers and people feel like that they can go, and we think, then we'll have them available for us. Right now, knock on wood, our availability of our talent is one of the plus things for us this year.
Jerry, this game this weekend against New England, personally, I think you guys win by double digits. That's just me. But is this a game that you guys have had as like a measuring stick, a circled type game? You look forward to something like this against Brady and Belichick?
I know this. Going up there against a team as substantive as New England is in every way, at their home, you can put that at the top of the list as far as a challenge. And we have made at least one other like this when we went down to New Orleans. And we've got to be at our very best. We need a turnover. We need to be on the positive end of the turnovers. If we can do that, as far as how we match up against New England, I think we can do some things on both sides of the ball. That's a heck of a test. And you couldn't this isn't just my town against your town. It's obviously a big one for us in how we make our way to the playoffs. So everything that you play football for is riding there against New England, and the challenge is with us. I think it's an opportunity for this team to take a step up in the opinion of it, and not only from within but from without.
Jerry, we know you're a historian. You talk to as many greats and legends that you can. You pick their brain. Do you have any great observation or story about Belichick that has labeled him arguably the greatest of all time coaching?
Well, I don't have anything that could add to his stature. I will say this. I'll never forget I was in skiing after the season was over, after our season was over, the Cowboys season was over, and I was buying skis for my grandkids, or renting skis for my grandkids, and there was a line, and I'm sitting in the back. Somebody bumps up against me a few times, and I turn around, and there was this guy that I couldn't make of him because he had his ski stuff on and goggles and raised up. It was Bill. And, of course, he no longer had a job. He had been with Cleveland, and they'd let him go up there. And he said, boy, listen, said, I can coach. Said, if you ever get an opportunity, don't forget about me. And I've thought about that many times. You never know when you can find a great coach. You can find them in a ski checkout line sometime.
Jerry, with the slow starts that you guys have gotten off to, do you subscribe to the playing up or playing down the competition? People usually say, "Oh, well, this Patriot game, the Cowboys will go out and win this one." But if it's a game they're supposed to crush the opponent, maybe it's the Jets, then they'll struggle. How do you subscribe to playing up or down to competition?
Well, I think it's such a fact in the NFL, and I think it's particularly interesting as to the NFL. If you think about it, those players that every team has, not just the ones that in this case New England has, but every player has. But for you having picked one ahead of the player that's on the field for the other team in the draft, or the fact that you picked and then the next player picked would have been the team picking that's got the player. Those players on the other side of the field, a large percentage of them you would have had on the Cowboys had you been given the opportunity. That's just the way it is. And so anytime you walk out there, you're playing personnel that have every chance in the world, even by your own evaluation, to beat you. And that's just the way that it is. And you get slow starts, you get behind the 8 ball on turnovers, and you're going to lose some football games. I'll never forget we had a better team, and we were out at the championship game when Barry Switzer was our coach, and we let San Francisco get up on us 21-0. And Barry had to get the team together on the sideline with only 5 minutes played and said, guys, the bad news is we're down 21. The good news is we got 55 minutes to go. And we came back, but we had, in my mind, we had a much better team. Not much, but a better team. And, of course, the San Francisco team went on for a championship. But the bottom line is the way things happen in a football game, you can get behind the 8 ball, you're playing tough competition. I don't go either way on playing them up or down when we're playing them.
Jerry, we rely on you to have the pulse of the league, an ambassador, if you will. What's your take on the weekend with Colin Kaepernick, the workout? It seemed like it turned into a bit of a circus over in that final 24 hours before the workout took place.
I think so. We, of course, aren't in the quarterback business. We're in the business of any time, anywhere, looking for talent. Whether we need it now or whether we need it in the future. So the way these things work, you have that evaluation for you, whether you're there or not. You have that evaluation. And I think that it's unfortunate that you can't just zero in on the business at hand, and that is evaluating a player that might or might not help you win a football game or move the chains within a football game. But that situation from the get-go probably had a lot more that wasn't about football involved in it, and consequently we got the results of that dynamic.
Jerry, if the league knew that Kaepernick wasn't going to be vocal moving forward, as vocal, do you think that he'd be more likely to be employed?
I wouldn't speculate anything about that situation.
So do you guys believe that Cooper Rush is a better quarterback than Colin Kaepernick?
We believe that we're in great shape relative to our position. There's a lot of things. You look at the future. You look at you look way ahead when you look at backup quarterback. You look at what you're paying for those backup quarterbacks. You're looking for whether you can have backup quarterbacks that don't have to be active, which means you can keep them over on the practice squad or bring them up. You get sometimes a quarterback that if you try to get them to the practice squad, another team will pick them up. That doesn't give you a good backup situation. A lot of things go into looking at that position. Of course, you think the same thing about every position, but certainly there's a lot of intellectual consideration relative to what a quarterback has to do and what he has to be a quarterback in a football game. So all of that's a consideration when you're looking at who's not playing. We're very fortunate right now that our quarterbacking is real good.
Jerry, thank you for the time as always. Don't worry about the hips. Practice the Dak dance, and hopefully we can see you celebrate in Foxborough on Sunday.
You bet, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry Jones.